For our next creepypasta, we go to Reddit, where this user posted a story titled, "I Let the Midnight Man In." Now, my friend, if you ever do something that is mentioned in this story, I'm gonna tell you right now, it will cost you your life, okay? Just back away from those Ouija boards and let's get into this. It was around 2006 and I was home for Christmas break from college. My two friends, whom I'll refer to as J and S, were coming over to my house. My parents would always leave the basement door open during the holidays so we could come and go as we pleased. We were all huge horror geeks. So when you had some time alone with your friends, what did you do? Watch scary movies, of course. We went to the local family video store and rented all the scary movies we could find. I remember there was a new set of Hellraiser movies out, and we rented those. We also got some classics like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This was before Netflix and stuff like that, so you had to rent your movies on VHS tapes. And when you're done, you had to rewind them, or you'd be charged an extra fee. We also bought a bunch of junk food and drinks and came back to my house. We had everything set up on my basement floor with a TV, VCR, Nintendo Wii, and a boombox to get the true horror movie experience. I don't remember what order we watched the movies in, but I do remember that we watched at least 3 movies that night. We were full of cheap candy, energy drinks, and just reveling in the horror of it all. Then we decided that we wanted to up the ante, so we said we should watch something more extreme. We didn't want to go to the extreme of renting an actual snuff film, so we looked on the internet and found a website where they supposedly described how to summon demons. Not thinking it was real, we decided why not? It was just an urban legend, right? The ritual seemed easy enough. We needed candles, a lighter, a pen, a glass, and water, and some paper. Oh, and it said to have a plan of escape ready just in case. We followed the instructions exactly, which stated to write down whatever name you want on the paper and place it under the glass. You then take the candles and surround the glass, light the candles and say, "Demon, I call upon you," and then wait. My friends and I laughed hysterically as we followed these instructions, though slightly creeped out because I knew that my family had a large collection of antique candlesticks that date back to the Victorian era. I pulled out 3 long wooden candlesticks and we placed one in front of the glass. As soon as I finished saying the summoning, the candle in front of the glass suddenly sputtered and went out. Slightly unnerved, we continued with the ritual. We asked the demon to show us a sign and then waited. All of a sudden, the boombox behind me turned on and started playing the most bone-chilling screeching noise. I swear it sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard. That noise lasted about 5 minutes, then stopped as quickly as it started. Then we heard footsteps above us on the stairs. J and S both freaked out, screaming, "Oh my God!" while hiding behind the couch. I tried to calm them down, saying that it was probably just my brother, but I wasn't so sure myself. My brother was away at college and wouldn't be home for another week. The scratching stopped, and we waited a few minutes. Then we heard the basement door slowly open. J and S were still cowering behind the couch, but I was curious, so I went over and peeked around the corner. The basement door creaked open and closed. No one was there. Maybe it was the wind. I told my friends that it was probably nothing and we should just move on, but S was adamant that we stop the ritual. J agreed with S, but I wanted to see it through. To appease my friends, I agreed that if whatever showed up didn't like what I had to say, I would end the ritual. We waited in silence for what felt like an eternity until I heard the scratching again. The lights flickered overhead and the clock on the wall flashed 12:01 a.m. The temperature suddenly dropped dramatically. We could feel the hair on our arms stand up. I had goosebumps. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw something standing in the basement door. It was tall, thin, emaciated and pale. Its eyes glowed an eerie red. I screamed and hid behind the couch. I don't remember how long we stayed back there, but it felt like hours. Finally, when I felt a bit braver, I cautiously came out from behind the couch. The demon was gone, and as the sun began to rise, we dismantled the ritual. Needless to say, we never finished that movie marathon. I told my friends about the ritual, but they refused to believe me. They thought I was making it up to cover my own cowardice. I didn't blame them. I probably would have done the same. I was left wondering if I really had seen a demon or if it was all in my head. I convinced myself that it was just a figment of my imagination, but something in the back of my mind told me otherwise. Fast forward to late January. My friend S was visiting me at college. We were hanging out in his dorm room and talking about the summoning. He didn't believe me then, but he wanted to hear the story again anyway. We were getting a bit bored, so we pulled out an old Ouija board that we had lying around. S wanted to try it out, so I agreed to be the skeptic. I didn't really think that there was anything to worry about. After all, it was just a silly game, right? S asked the board if the Midnight Man was here, and to his surprise, the planchette moved and spelled out, "Yes." Well, that was interesting. I thought maybe it was just a coincidence, so I tried asking it a few questions. I asked if it was the Midnight Man. It responded, "Yes." Then I asked, "Why are you here?" It answered, "To claim what is mine." At this point, I was starting to feel uneasy. I thought it was just a game, but what if it was real? I decided to play along a bit longer. I asked, "What is yours?" And the planchette spelled out, "Soul." Suddenly, the lights flickered and the room went dark. We could hear chains dragging metal moans. Then the lights came back on and the planchette spelled out, "Run!" S and I noped out of there and ran to my dorm room. We locked the door and hid under the covers. We were both scared that the demon would somehow find us and drag us down to hell. I couldn't help but wonder what the demon wanted with my soul. As the morning passed, I began to calm down, and I told S that we should probably check on my roommate. If we didn't, he would probably report us missing and my parents would flip. I cautiously opened the door and walked out. Nothing had happened, and no one had even noticed. I walked back to my room and looked back at the door. It was slightly ajar. I had definitely shut it all the way before we went to hide. Had the demon been trying to get back in? I never did figure that out because from that day on, S and I never spoke of the Midnight Man again. And if you ask me if I believe in demons, I'll just say that there's no such thing as a harmless demon. So can we all agree that if you do this, you're pretty much signing your name in permanent marker on your soul? Yeah, you know you're probably going to regret that later. If you want to hear another summoning gone wrong, then check out my video on the Green Children of Woolpit. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.